Join us as career changers, company leaders, industry experts, and others who have been in your shoes share their stories, insights, and lessons learned to help you find enjoyment through employment in the tech world. I'm Nemo Ashong, and this is the Empjoyment Podcast. A good day to you, Empjoyees. I'm really excited for you to get into this episode because James Kaikis is here to give us his experience as a career changer. And James has had a journey that has taken him from Hawaii to San Francisco and so many other places in between. There's a lot of places that this conversation goes, but one of the things that I took away as a major lesson learned is just how important it is to set, manage, and exceed expectations when you're looking to get a job and when you're looking to provide value to your clients and to your employer. So James does just that, and he spends the time walking us through how he's been able to accomplish it in his journey so that you can use it for yours. This is also quite the episode because James is passionate about helping other people make career changes. In his spare time, this is what he does. He helps other people move forward in their journey, given the fact that he went from hospitality to hospitality tech and now is working in tech more in general when it comes to sales. So generally speaking, you're in for an amazing episode. And I just want to take a second here just to remind any of you out there that are interested in being featured on the show. If you have a story that you think will help inspire, motivate, and get people to the next level on their journey, we'd love to feature you here on the Empjoyment Podcast. We're passionate about helping career changers get into tech, and quite frankly, we all do it together. So just send me an email at nemo@empjoyment.com if you're interested in being featured or if you know anyone that would be a great fit. You can also just send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm there. I respond. I'm active. And at the end of the day, I just want to serve all of you better. So with that, let's go into this amazing conversation with James Kaikis. Hello there, Empjoyees. Welcome to the Empjoyment Podcast, where we're focused on helping people just like you find enjoyment through employment. I am thrilled today because I am joined by James Kaikis, who is going to share his incredible journey. And quite frankly, we got a chance to talk right before this episode here. I know that you are all in for quite a treat on some actionable advice on how to make a transition into tech. So let me tell you a little bit about James, and then we'll get into things from there. James currently manages a sales engineering team for a tech company in San Francisco, United States. Prior to his current company, Showpad, James worked at Revenate, a hospitality startup, and Hyatt Hotel Corporation prior to that. James has worked in roles that focus on customer experience across a number of industries, including tech, hospitality, athletics, and operations. Wow. So James, this is quite the experience you have here. Why don't you say a quick hello to Empjoyees and let us know a little bit about your life, love, work, and passion.
Yeah, thanks, Nemo. Hey, everyone. I'm really honored and thrilled to be here today. I think my story is going to be super relatable, and I'm really excited to share it. A little bit about me is I've been here in San Francisco about 4 years. I'm originally from the great state of Pennsylvania and have been traveling on the West Coast about the last 10 to 12 years. I'm an avid sports fan. I'm very social and like to be outdoors, like to be engaging with different individuals, whether that's over coffee or with good conversation. Proud father of a near 5-year-old daughter. For me, I am very passionate about a few things, and one of those is self-development and personal development. So I do a lot of reading, do a lot of writing as well. And so for me, I am just really excited to be here. And thank you guys for having me today.
Well, that's awesome here. Well, where in Pennsylvania are you from?
I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Very nice. Very nice. I have my wife is from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, no way.
And I grew up right outside of Philadelphia. So, but on the Jersey side.
Oh, so I shouldn't say that I'm from the better side of the state.
No, you can say whatever. This is your show. For the rest of this conversation, anything you say is gold.
Uh-oh. Hey, I'll take it.
Cool. So you said that you're really into self-development and into reading. Yeah. Would you have any, if you had to recommend maybe 2 or 3 books for people to check out that you felt have made an important impact on your life, especially in that when you're looking to make your transitions, what 3 would they be?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. The way I'll answer that is that Malcolm Gladwell is my favorite author. If anyone has read Blink or Outliers, I would absolutely suggest those books. Those books will make you kind of think outside your normal comfort zone and really dig into some things that you may not have correlated in the past. And to me, those are really good books to get the mind kind of moving and kind of going. Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People, is probably my top suggested book for personal development. And actually, where my a quote I want to share with people today too is from John Wooden, and the John Wooden Pyramid of Success is a really, really intriguing book, and it talks about building blocks and stepping stones to get to a path and a journey of success. So I would highly suggest something in those realms.
Oh, this is wonderful. This is such a fun way to start off this conversation. Employees, look at this. Value right off the bat here. Value and work. Now, so with that there, James, why don't we jump into how you kind of like view the world? And I like to do this through a success quote, a success mantra, or some kind of motto that you use to drive you forward. So would you mind sharing with us that quote that you use?
Yeah. I think if you don't mind, I have a couple of quotes here. And the one that for me changed me professionally was in John Wooden's book. And it was what you learn after it's what you learn after you know it all is what counts. And I think throughout my career, I may have thought that I was, a know-it-all, so to say, or maybe I was really passionate about a certain subject, but maybe I didn't know everything about it. And when I kind of took that quote and heard that quote, to me, it really resonated that there are people out there, like yourself, Nemo, that have really good advice and look at, the world and look at things in a different way. And it's really nice to hear their perspective and kind of reflect internally on those items. And so that's one of the many John Wooden quotes that has really resonated with me, to never stop learning. Never stop learning, because you'll learn so much more at the end of the day. One other one that I would, like to share with the readers is you play with the cards that you're dealt. I think so many times we get caught up in things that we can't control. There are situations that arise that are absolutely unexpected, and life is going to, deal you some cards, and you're going to play with that deck, and you're going to play with that hand, and you're going to make the best out of it in any way possible. That's a quote to me that has really pushed me and got me to where I am, not just professionally, but personally as well.
That's really great there. Would you mind giving us an example of how you put one of those quotes into action for you in your professional or personal life?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that comes to mind is prior to making a move into tech, I worked in the hospitality industry. And for me, playing with the cards that you're dealt is something that is here. I actually lived in Honolulu, Hawaii for 2 years, and that's actually where my daughter lives and was born. And I made a move to San Francisco to work for a hotel chain, and had a really great opportunity. And it was sold to me as the greatest opportunity. And I actually developed a VIP program in the Hawaiian Islands that has been instituted throughout a number of hotels on the West Coast. It was wildly successful. I was told I can roll out that program at my hotel here in San Francisco, and I got here, and it just wasn't the situation I was expecting. There were some external forces at play, and some things that kind of left me to be desired. And while my daughter was still back in Hawaii, I was here in a new city in a situation that was less than desirable, and I had to figure out how to get through it, how to fight through it. And I did to the best of my abilities. I really made the best of a situation, and got to make the impact that I really wanted to make. But at the end of the day, I decided it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I folded those cards, and the deck got reshuffled, and I got dealt some new ones when I made a switch, a career change.
Ooh, I am already liking how this is going here. You folded those cards, but at the time you played with it first.
I played,
and you got to a victory. You got to a win that you felt comfortable with, and then you decided, you know what? Let's get a new set of cards.
Absolutely.
That's awesome there. And, sorry to hear that things didn't work out exactly as you had expected, but it looks like it did lead you to a place where you were able to get success overall. And, we were kind of teasing out a little bit here about some of your journey, but would love to do two things. Firstly, just get an understanding as to like what you do right now. So that, listeners here and employees can have an understanding as to like who you are and what you do in that realm. And then maybe we can take a step back and say, how did you get here?
Yeah. So great. Right now, I am the manager of sales engineering for a tech company here in San Francisco, global company. It's been a great almost 2 years of a ride. And I have a team right now of about 3 individuals. And what we do is we are the technical resource and additional tandem selling in the software world. And so what my team really does is we are the problem solvers. We take complex situations, look at maybe technical ecosystems and structures of software and determine how our software can fit into their system and how we can help them do better and with the problems that they're being, challenged or faced with. Also in our position, we're product experts. When someone wants to test our software, we're the individuals who lead that project. So you might have 30 days to prove out success of Showpad to a major enterprise. And there's a lot of pressure and stress there. And we get to be the ones who says, hey, based off your current model and based off how your reps are selling and what your marketing team does, this is what we suggest. This is how we would implement it. And 30 days is a pressure cooker. And at the end of it becomes a decision. And so, sales engineering in general is a bit of a broad term. You have some individuals that are actual coding and coders, and you have people like myself that are actually just more technical or think through problems in a different way. Personally, my undergrad degree was in education. My master's degree was in sports sciences, and here I am working as a technical sales engineer manager. So that is where I am today. Now, going back, and Nemo, would you prefer that I jump into how I got there?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would ask before then is that you had said that you're like a resource related to tandem selling. And I was wondering maybe if you can explain that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the concept of tandem selling is your account executive or your sales rep and more of a technical resource working together down a journey. So the sales individual is usually responsible with managing relationships, setting meetings, driving value. But there's also this other component of showing the product and being a product expert. When 1 or 2 people are in a room selling to 10 to 12 decision makers, especially in larger complex organizations, you need additional resource in that room to effectively tell your story. It's almost like when you're running with 2 people and someone falls, instead of just continuing to run, you go back and pick them up and you run together because you need both of those individuals to effectively communicate value and the purpose of what you're trying to achieve in the sales process.
Oh, that's really great. So that's actually helped me see this a little bit. If you don't mind, I'm going to try and picture what I'm seeing happening here from my own personal experience. So someone might be on a sales team and they have established a relationship with a potential customer. They've gotten to the point where the customer is interested in exploring the product or exploring setting up a contract with you, but they might that client might have like very specific technical needs or technical questions or just questions about like how this would actually be implemented in a more specific way. Is that when they call upon you and your team to be a part of that conversation and start helping them see how the product would apply to them specifically?
You got it, Nemo. You got it. Sometimes 2 heads are better than 1 in that type of situation.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much there. I'm wrapping my arms around sales engineering and it feels really good. So would you mind just letting us know about your journey to this?
Yeah. And starting my journey, my background when I was in high school and even early days college is I coached football. I coached youth football and that was one of the most rewarding things of my entire life because I worked with a lot of inner city youth and individuals who maybe had not the most desirable upbringing and got to be that inspiration and let them find something outside of their maybe again, less than desirable situations. And that wasn't everyone. But coaching football taught me about people. It taught me about multiple personalities and different personalities and how you manage that situation. I actually got involved in sports and athletics as well. So I did some game day operations for a sports event, also hosted tournaments and other big events. So imagine when you go to an event like a football game and you're watching the football game, but everything that's happening from concession stands to bathroom lines to on-field entertainment between timeouts, that's all done by operations teams. So I learned about big cogs and how you make that machine work as well. But really fast forwarding is I went from athletic operations and jumped into the hospitality world. And jumping in hotel operations was amazing to me because I really got to learn about customer experience and what sets someone apart from a good experience to a great experience. And I worked in Hawaii. I worked on the beach in Waikiki. One of a postcard everywhere you go, one of the most desirable views that people come all over the world for. And I got to be the one to greet them and show them a good time and show them what it was like with the Aloha spirit and the island of Hawaii. And with that, what I mentioned earlier is I came to San Francisco. And when I was leaving the islands, I wanted to come to what we call the mainland. And I wanted to come to a city that offered, tourism and diversity like that. And again, I joined the hotel. I worked there for about 6 months and I realized, hey, I'm in San Francisco. I'm in Silicon Valley. I should give this a shot. These are, some of the best and brightest people in the world. Let me try to make a transition. And that transition was not easy. It was not hard. It was trying to sell people that I am a fit. I can do the job. Just give me an opportunity. An opportunity came along with Revenate, which was a hospitality technology company. So I got to take my expertise from hotels and make the transition into professional services and onboarding and deployments. I had a really great experience there. Got to see the world, travel to see my customers, and I was recruited to Showpad. And that was a big jump for me, going from hospitality and hospitality technology to broad general sales. And I had a lot of people against me and didn't think I could make the move. But I did, and here we are 2 years later, managing a team and now giving some advice on this very subject.
Oh, yes. What a time there. What a time there. And I would love to spend some time just exploring a little bit of this journey with you here, James. I think one of the cool things here is how you decided that your journey started. I just to kind of take note here. You're like, your journey started with like coaching youth football, and it taught you about people and different personalities, as well as working with like inner city youth. So can you talk a little bit about how that experience shaped your ongoing experience, and just as importantly, how you leverage that in your current role? Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with, 12 to 14-year-olds that are, face it, going through puberty as well, have a lot of aggression and anger, learning how to deal with those individuals and how to learn with them and work with them was just so rewarding. What we maybe some of us went through a traditional upbringing, maybe some of us did not. And being able to see a situation, see someone visibly upset, know that they're going through that, and be able to talk through them and work through a situation with them was amazing. And really where they could find and escape from their reality, and they got to play sports and become part of a team and a mentality where they're rooting for each other. And that there taught me how to manage people and how to work with people that were different than I am. I mean, there's so many different individuals out there and how people handle things. And there's, plenty of personality tests that will tell you how you react and how you should be handled and how you shouldn't be handled. And that at that core helped me out. And fast forward to when I worked in the hotels, I indirectly managed sometimes 40 to 50 and directly managed that many individuals, some of who've been working at that very property longer than I've been alive. And so they've seen people come in and out, and to be able to make an impact on them, to build a bond and build a relationship, it is amazing. I actually still keep in touch with many of the people that I worked with. We go out to lunch, we go out to dinner. I get care packages from Hawaii. It's really nice because when you really care about someone and you're actually invested in their success and their well-being, and you're genuinely interested, it really changes everything. And I learned that from my experiences with Hyatt in the hospitality industry and working with so many individuals. And now fast forward where I actually have a small team and smaller individuals, that personal connection is what it's all about, because people want to work with people that they like, that they enjoy being around, that have some of those qualities that they want to engage in as well. And for me, again, from the start when I was actually playing sports and coaching sports at a young age to now, there's so many common themes in there that have just really helped me throughout the way.
Awesome there. And you have no idea how much I want to just explore the time that you had in Hawaii. And I feel like that'll be some fun times there, but maybe we'll save that for the enjoyment community discussion later on of some sort.
Yeah, I would love to.
Can we talk a little bit here about like your first transition into tech? So you were in hospitality. This is where you were talking about like the cards that have been dealt to you. And then you decided to reshuffle the deck. So can you walk us through like that process and let us know like some of the steps that you took to make that happen?
Yeah, 100%. And the first thing that comes to mind is the moment when you realize, hey, this is great, but I need to make a change. And it's hard. It's scary. It's, people naturally don't tend to handle change that well. There are some people that do. So you get some nerves, you get some anxiety, but the number one thing is you need to reach out to people. You need to reach out to people in your network. You need to people like yourself, Nemo, and this gives such a great forum for people to hear others' stories, because it's not easy. It's easy to continue doing something that is part of your routine, or that you've become a little bit inside of a box, so to say, and to get out of that box can be difficult and be hard. And for me, it was reaching out to people who have made like-minded jumps or were working in certain roles. And I got a lot of advice on what I should be applying for, what's the easiest transition, what can I do to sell myself? And I talked to a lot of people, and I applied for, I don't like to admit this, but I applied for so many jobs. And jobs that were sometimes inside my scope, were ones that were well outside of my scope, just eager and engaging for just an interview, because I thought, hey, if I can get someone on the phone and talk to them in person, let me show them what I can do. And, I finally talked to someone who gave me some advice and said, hey, you've been working in hospitality. Why don't you look into a hospitality technology company, even like a Expedia, Orbitz, Hotel Tonight, Revenate? And I thought, hey, that would be a great transition to get in there. And my advice to anyone absolutely is you can get out of your comfort zone very easily. Very easily, meaning that it's easy to do, it's hard to follow through with. But there's some things that you can't really teach, so to say. And one of them is hard work, and the other is persistence. And when you're persistent and you've come to the conclusion that you're going to make the jump and you want to make a change in your life, you got to go for it. And you got to go 100% to it. And I was very fortunate that I was able to meet with someone at Revenate and sell my experience. And don't think when I didn't get to that job interview, I showed up with a project that no one asked me to create in hand, based off my research, based off the website, and said, I'm not walking out of here without an offer. And that essentially was how I put myself in that position. And you can't always teach that. And but some people do possess it, and they possess it. They might not know they possess it, but they do.
James, this is incredible. This is like, employees, wherever you are, you might just want to pull over to the side and rewind this part of the conversation again, or jump off the treadmill and just hit let's go back 30 seconds and listen to it again, because I feel you just gave such a great roadmap to success there. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to just explore it more deeply, because I feel like this is where employees can make tremendous strides in their journey. Does that work for you?
It does, Nemo.
Okay, so why don't we start with the end, because the last thing you said, I was getting goosebumps throughout, but the last thing you said struck me the most, because it's something similar to what I did, but I haven't heard too many people really going forth and doing this, which is that you did work without being asked, without being prompted, that you said sell your experience, and what I was thinking is that like you demonstrated your experience, and through that also demonstrated the kind of person that you are, where before you even walked into the room, you had already done research, you had shown how prepared you are and things like that. So can we talk through your motivation for doing that work there, and also like how you went about constructing that simulated project that you just took on your own?
Yeah. And thanks for that, Nemo. I think for me, I realize that there's probably a lot of people like me. There are a lot of people at home applying for jobs, looking to get that opportunity. And sometimes you're fortunate in which you know someone at an organization. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes other people are. And so for me, I looked at it as though my back's against the wall. And if they're interviewing 10 people and I'm the least qualified, how do I at least make it to the next round? What do I need to do? And it's all about expectation setting. So one of the things with sales engineering is that my job is to manage the expectations of my prospect or of my customer. I'm not supposed to sell snake oil. I take what they do and I make a meaningful recommendation. And when it comes to expectations, I think that's something that happens in everything that we do with our friends, our family, whatever it is, you want to manage them. And where I'm getting to is that if I'm going into an interview, an interviewer has a certain expectation of what they're walking into. I personally hire for a living now, and so I've gone through so many interviews, and I've talked to so many clients or so many prospective employees, and it's when you stand out and break that expectation is what's different. You're going to catch my attention. Sometimes when you're doing a team or a panel interview, how do you stand out? And to me, that's the biggest thing is you come into the interview process ready to go with something different. What I personally did is I knew that the Revenate had a number of products. And so I did my research. I provided a packet. One was, my cover letter. It was my resume. I had 3 to 4 personal recommendations that people wrote me. And then I did 2 separate projects. One was a project based off some research that I saw on a fictitious hotel and how and why they would use a product like Revenate. And the second one was actually a fictitious project or product, I should say, that didn't exist with Revenate that I thought would be a really cool recommendation for the company. Now, of course, they were never, well, maybe not of course, but they weren't going to really use that, but they saw that I was going to do something different to stand out. And I remember them always saying when I started, wow, this guy brought a packet to the interview. And it blew people away. And it's again, the hard work and the persistence and putting in those extra hours that helped me get through the interview process and ultimately make it to an offer at the end.
So James, this is something that like is incredible. And I talk a lot when I talk to people around this here, around like how much work and how much time it actually takes to get a position. And one of the things that that's come into my mind is that, yes, there was some additional work that needed to get done so that, you could come up with the not one, but 2 different projects. Yes, you had to take the time to draft each of these projects and put it together in a meaningful way, and also to find other people who would give you recommendations. All these things did take time and it did take extra work. But what I like to do is almost put that work into perspective where, you were saying that you were still submitting applications. You submitted a whole lot of applications. There's time in terms of the number of months that you're working while you're still trying to find a new job or trying to explore your new path. And my question for employees, and something I'd like you to just think about, there's no real answer here, but like if someone came up to you and said, if you put in 10 hours of extra work on your own time to create something unique, something that shows value, that's something that helps set the expectation for your potential employer of this is what we can expect from this person, not in terms of the end result, but in terms of who you are and what you're going to do and how you're going to approach different problems especially when there isn't a solution that's out there for you. That extra 10 hours, like, would you spend it? Would you take that time and translate it there? And I think, James, like as you're describing this here, I mean, I feel anyone who sees someone that is willing to do this type of work and to understand their organization and to understand where their opportunities are and to bring it to the conversation right off the bat without being prompted and without being paid. Show someone that has the intrinsic skills, the intrinsic qualities that will make them successful regardless of what situation they're put into. I hope I'm not putting words into your mouth, but that really resonates with me. I just wanted to just get your thoughts on that before we.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it resonates with me as well. And I think you've put what I've said into perspective for the listeners. And it's really something that makes a difference. And I'm glad we're able to share that with people.
Awesome. I'm going to just ask really quickly here. You had the advice to pursue hospitality tech. I was just wondering about if you had any thoughts or suggestions as someone that might be in a specific industry right now in terms of them making a kind of a smaller step transition into the tech from by staying in the same industry. Any thoughts on tips and tricks for that?
Yeah, I think you just got to find a correlation. And if you're selling printers, be able to show that you could go ahead and sell software. You can sometimes have to take a step down or step back to take a step forward. And that's just any general advice for anyone. But when it comes to the specifics of working in an industry, I actually just spoke with someone recently who mentioned to me that he worked with bars and wines for most of his life. And he came to San Francisco for an opportunity to work in tech and really wasn't sure where to start. The first thing I said to him is, you should go find a startup that has your expertise. And I use the word expertise is because that's less of a transition. And you're always going to have to sell yourself no matter what. But if you can sell that you've been working in a specific vertical for quite some time, it's an easier transition. You can say that you know it. You know the consumer. You know the buyer. You know the operation. And you can help shift people's mindset that think that they have to hire again within the box, that they have to hire a certain type of person. And that is, again, a stepping stone in the overall path in your journey. For me, that ended up being such a great stepping stone to go into professional services, to go into onboarding, do some sales engineering in hospitality tech, to get in there and say, hey, I can do this job. I know I can do it really, really well. And then once someone else comes along, maybe a recruitment, or you want to make the jump out, it's an easier transition from sales and sales engineering to sales and sales engineering to all companies, not just hospitality.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much there, James. I didn't want to let that slide by. It was a really great point. So, we've been talking through your journey. You've been giving us great insights into everything. I think that it's clear that you've been successful throughout your journey. And I'd love to spend some time talking through some of the more difficult parts of it. So would you mind taking us through an example of a time that you face a challenge, or even better, a failure in your mind, and the steps that you took to overcome that at work?
Yeah. And, to preface, there's so many people out there that say, fail fast, fail often, or don't use the word failure. In my personal opinion, you learn a lot more from a difficult or tough situation, or one that didn't go according to plan, than you do a good. And it kind of goes back to that John Wooden quote I mentioned earlier as well. I think one of the most, again, difficult situation, I did mention one earlier at the Grand Hyatt, but I think one of the biggest situations that I faced and have felt was at my last company. And it was really more of a personal issue and a personal problem and a challenge that I really was having trouble navigating, so to say. And so one of our biggest customers and one of our biggest accounts in Europe was one of my clients. And so I was very fortunate to get to go to Europe a couple times to go see my clients. And this large hotel chain, I think upwards of 45 to 50 hotels, was located in London. And I had never been to London, and it was a really great experience. But when they bought my product of Revenate, they actually were told something was going to come that didn't actually come, or was supposed to come a little bit later in the process. And for me, as the professional service individual, the onboarding consultant, the one who's guiding their journey and their success with the platform, we ran into a little bit of a roadblock. And I had established a really great relationship with my two contacts, two women based out of London. And we built this relationship, and I had told them that this product component was coming. I promised them how it would fit in their ecosystem. I talked through all the scenarios of once it was launched, how we'd roll it out to the hotels. And push came to shove, they kind of gave us a deadline of when it needed to happen. And unfortunately, we weren't able to deliver based off some competing priorities. And that account actually churned. And churn is what happens when in SaaS technology, is when you can no longer recognize their revenue. And I really took that to heart. I felt like, one, that was a little bit of a stamp on kind of my pride, because this was my account. I was working through their onboarding. It was one of the bigger accounts that we have. It was super strategic. And I probably could have managed their expectations a lot better. And at the end of the day, they said, "Hey, James, it's not you, it's the overall situation." But I took that to heart, and I made sure moving forward that I was always managing expectations properly. I was very clear in my lines of communication, and never going to let my personal reputation take that hit, because I'm motivated by that. And that was one of the more challenging situations. It actually cost company revenue at the end of the day. I learned a lot from that, and I've strived to never let that happen again.
Wow, that's not an easy time there, and thank you for walking through that here. I would love to understand here, and managing expectations, I think, is becoming an important theme for this conversation. So hopefully, employees, if you're picking up something, you're learning the importance of managing expectations. Can we talk through that a little bit more in detail, James? Like, how have you changed your approach to managing expectations with your clients now to help make sure this kind of situation doesn't take place?
Well, for one, when you're given information, you can't always take it at face value. Sometimes information that is passed along within a company, this could be anything from product to sales to really any variety of topic. But you can't always take it for face value, and you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and your homework on those types of situations. Also, when you're managing a relationship with someone on behalf of the company, you want to make sure that you're aligned. Your goals are aligned. Your thoughts are aligned. The rollout of the software is aligned. But again, alignment from start to finish is absolutely key. And I think there's one thing, especially in sales, is you can't be afraid to say no, and you can't be afraid to say, "Hey, we're not going to do this," but then say, "Hey, how can we come to a mutual agreement? Or how can we come to a path that makes sense for both parties?" And I think that's where most people have a lot of challenge, and I had a lot of challenge at one point. Is I, again, didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to miss a deadline or say this and then have to go back on it. And again, at the end of the day, the expectation of what someone thinks or wants or has in their mind, and the story that they've built internally, needs to match the one that I'm saying and I'm sharing. Otherwise, there are going to be problems. And that creates, I say, that's a less than desirable situation for not just me and that individual anymore, but a lot of people that are associated with the account, so to say, in software.
Thank you for that, James. I really like that vision there about the story that they have built in their own minds, because we all tell ourselves stories, right? We're all trying to interpret different things, and it feels like you've given us some tangible ways to manage those expectations and manage those stories, so that at the end of the day, everyone ends up feeling fulfilled or treated properly through the experience. So with that, James, let's go ahead and flip things around here. We spent some time focusing on the challenging portions of your path. Can you let us know about a time in your working experience that brought you great joy? Would you mind sharing your proudest moment and the steps that led up to it?
Yeah, I think proudest moment is extremely tough to pinpoint. I thought about this question going into this, and really, what was one of my proudest moments? And it changes, and it's a variety of items. And when it's when it's working with youth sports, it's just seeing the smile on someone's face. Actually, that one of my teams 1 year won the championship, and how excited every 12-year-old was to have a 3 or 4 foot trophy that showed that, hey, all the hard work and effort we did made it. There's also successes in recognizing people's achievements. And I think for me, that's always been my proudest moment throughout, is a sense of team accomplishment. Even small wins, like when I was working in grad school at a facility, an athletic facility, and someone got engaged. And it was a big deal. They were so happy. And we threw a surprise party for them. They came into work and we had a cake and balloons. And while you're probably saying, James, why are you talking about this in your professional journeys? Because we're making an impact on people. We're giving them a meaningful element, something that goes above and beyond, I guess, one of the themes that we've talked about here throughout the journey. I think recently one of my proudest moments is one of my employees got promoted off of my team. So I lost my best employee from my team, but she went elsewhere and she got an opportunity within the organization that was better suited for her and more along her lines and what she wanted to do. And there are always going to be these professional moments and and there will always be cornerstones that exist that are pivotal moments throughout. I could tell you, personally, pivotal moments is when I joined Showpad. About 3 months later, I got promoted to run the sales engineering team from just an individual contributor and start and build that process. And I got to build a team from scratch, which was definitely something I wasn't expecting, but I utilized my resource. And to me, seeing how that has been successful and where we've had wins is extremely important. Even when I'm talking and selling software and explain something and someone's like, oh my gosh, I have been looking for this forever. This is going to make my job so much easier. To me, that's a win. And that is where I get, a proud sense of accomplishment. And it's not just individual, but it's team. It's everyone around you. And that type of feeling that you get just resonates through me. And it's hard to just pinpoint one. I'm sure I could be here all day pinpointing the small ones, though.
Well, I appreciate that you've given us so many different options to kind of like see this here. And I really love this overall theme there around that team accomplishment and what you're able to do together. So kudos to you. Congratulations on the things that you've accomplished. James, we're about ready to wrap up our conversation. What I'd love to do is see, like, how are things going for you right now? What is bringing you joy right now in the current moment, and what excites you looking forward?
Right now, Nemo, it's being able to, and it sounds a little cliche because we're on this, but we did talk for a few minutes before this, but being able to share my story. And if as many people out there listen to this and one person says, wow, James, what you said really spoke to me and made me make a move and made me, get out of my routine and do something different, that's what is great to me. I have a couple of friends right now that are looking to make moves into tech from other cities into San Francisco. To me, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, people aren't going to remember what you said to them. They're going to remember on how you made them feel. And we're all here to build a legacy, and people will come and go throughout our lives. But my goal is just to make a lasting impact and a positive lasting impact on everyone that I come across. And maybe even in less than desirable situations, I hope that they can find some joy out of that. And for me, being able to talk to you, Nemo, and talk to the audience about this, I'm feeling great. This is fantastic. I want to do this every day if I could.
Oh, you know what? I would take you up on now. But no, James, I really want to say thank you because, it's you've been just really, really forthcoming with just like your experiences and how you went about doing things. And, I want to take this time. If anyone else is out there listening to this that either feels like they would like to share their journey with employees, or if you know anyone that would be a good fit, please just let them know. I am going to do as many of these conversations as people will allow me to do. I love meeting new people. I love sharing these journeys here. And, James, kind of hearing your experience here is making me feel even more excited and committed to just getting as many different stories out there for people to be able to learn from and to resonate with. So thank you for that.
Great. Yeah, my pleasure.
So James, can I ask you one other really quick question, and then I want to get your thoughts to see if you have any questions for me. You said that you've been hiring more recently here, and I just wanted to ask if you have like one suggestion to give to someone who is looking to transition that may not have had any experience in tech at all. Is there one thing that you would recommend that they end up doing to help make a lasting impression?
Yeah, I think it's the similar concept, but do your research and come prepared. What I do in my interview process is I actually don't do very traditional. I flip the script. I will ask like one or two questions in the beginning, and then I'll talk about the role and make sure it's aligned with their expectations. And then I say, what questions do you have for me, or what would you like to talk about next? And if someone actually goes somewhat quiet, I don't think that they maybe really want this role, and maybe they're just applying to apply. So again, applying to apply does happen, and it's okay to do that. But if you do get an interview, come prepared, ready to rock. Ask really thought-provoking questions, because especially in my line of work, sales engineering, we're very inquisitive. And when someone comes and starts asking me really tough questions that I'm having a hard time answering, I'm going to give them another interview. I love it. And so that's some advice that I would suggest to people. It sounds like a bit of a no-brainer, but it's going the extra mile. It's going a little bit further than someone expects you to go.
Awesome. That's so great for us to be able to take away. So James, just wanted to see, do you have any questions for me? I'll be happy to answer anything you have, and then maybe we can end up with a parting thought.
Yeah, I think for me, Nemo, just a couple of questions really is, based off some of the things that I had mentioned, in terms of themes, I guess we mentioned there was a number of themes. Are there any, maybe a top three themes that resonated with you throughout this discussion?
Ooh, so thank you very much. Now I like to sit back and think about it a little bit here. There definitely are some themes. So I think the one of the biggest ones to me is around setting and managing expectations. And really how that's up to you as the individual to help set the expectations for other people. So that was one part of it. And then I think similar or related, but more concrete on that aspect is, doing the research and going above and beyond. And I think to that point, doing the things that other people aren't willing to do. They're all easy. It takes up time, but I found that you really made it a point to bring those types of experiences out into play. And if I had to say a third theme here that really comes in here is, well, let me think about this here.
Let me ask you a different question, Nemo.
Yeah, sure.
For the audience. We talked about like a quote that really resonates well with me. Is there a quote that resonates well with you?
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. This is probably also the third thing that comes to mind here. But the quote for me is, if you want to be, do. If you want to be, do. I heard it through the person I say, my mentor from afar, John Lee Dumas, who actually got me inspired to start podcasting and explore my own business. Like when I was looking to make a transition, I listened to a podcast similar to this for entrepreneurs. And that was one of his big mottos. And what that means is, at least the way I choose to interpret it, is that if you want to be something, like there's nothing stopping you other than yourself taking action. So I wanted to make a podcast, so I made a podcast. I wanted to get into tech, so I built a website. In my experience, I found that by taking action and doing it first, and then going on to someone and saying, like, I'm already doing this kind of stuff. I'd love to be able to do it for you, or to help your business, or to help you be more successful in life. That's just been a path to success for me, and where a lot of my growth and learning has taken place through action. So the quote that right now is most meaningful to me is, if you want to be, do.
I love that. That actually resonates with me. I appreciate that. That's a great quote.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking there. Thank you very much for that. Any other questions?
I think I'm good. Okay. I think I'm good, Nemo.
All right, great. Well, do you want to give us one parting piece of advice, and then afterwards we'll end the conversation here?
Yeah, I think some parting advice is a little bit of what you mentioned is don't let anything get in your way. I think persistence and hard work will get you really, really far. And there could be people that are more qualified for you, that have better connections, But if you put your mind to something, just go for it 100%. You'll get there.
Ooh, all right. That's a way to end this conversation here, employees. So with that, James, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, your experience, your talents. You just brought everything up to the table and you put it all out there for us. And because of that, I think at least one employee out there is going to be able to take a step forward. And to be honest, I have the same goal. Each episode, one person making a step forward in their journey. So just thank you for just being yourself and putting it all out there for us. We really appreciate you. And I want to just wish you a chance to experience joy each and every single day. Take care, James.
Thanks, Nemo. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.
I'm glad you had a chance to hear James's experience and how he goes about creating opportunities of success in his life. And one of the things that we talked about was how, from an employer's perspective, it can feel risky to take on a new hire. And I really thought that James brought just some amazing magic to the conversation when he brought up that powerful example of what it takes to exceed expectation for potential employers. When he was talking about that packet and the amount of work that he put in to do it, it sent shivers down my spine because as he was describing it, I'm like, this guy got the job. Who wouldn't want someone like that on their team? And employees, are you putting yourself in a position to be thought of in a similar light? That leads me to today's joining as we go from insight to action. Come over to the Employment community and share one example of either how you A, personally set yourself apart from other candidates in the job search, B, what you'll do the next time you have an interview to stand out from the crowd, or C, what someone else has done that made you feel that that candidate was exceptional. Let's go ahead and share some examples of people going above and beyond in the interview experience and even in the resume experience. And let's talk about what are the things that made that person stand out. Now, none of this here is to say that you have to use every single one of these tactics. And quite frankly, I think different roles and different opportunities lend themselves to different ways of showing that above and beyond nature. And to add on to that, each individual has their own thing. For me, I'm going to create a video. I'll create a podcast. I may not make the world's best email, but that's the magic in it all. That's where there's a lot of creativity and a lot of fun that can take place. But I do want to give you all some concrete things to start with, start thinking through and start moving forward. So come be a part of the Employment community. Come share your examples there. If you're not a part of this yet, you can easily join by going to employment.com/community or just type in the word Employment to 33444 on your phone. It's super simple. They'll give you the rest of the steps there, and then you can just come be a part of the conversation. Okay. So with that, here's to experiencing joy each and every day. Take care, employees.